You wanna guess the color of my underwear? You wanna know what I got going on down
Hello,
there?
darling.
Is it pretty?
Welcome back to Front Row with Audrey Charlyes, Season 2, Episode 6, my love. Darlings, London played, Milan calculated, Milan Fashion Week 26-27. By the time Fashion Month arrived in Milan this season, something felt quite different. And I'm not talking about silhouettes. I'm not talking about color palettes. I'm talking about weight. I know. A kind of atmospheric shift in the room. Something kind of like it's the kind of shift that doesn't necessarily appear in the lookbooks, but everyone inside the industry felt it. This was the third Milan Fashion Week unfolding in what many are calling a post-Armani era. And whether people acknowledge it or not, the city felt quite different actually. Because for decades, Giorgio Armani was not just a designer. He was Milan's stabilizer, its quiet authority. The man who proved that refinement could outlive hype and that elegance didn't need to scream to be powerful. And now, Milan is adjusting to inheritance. Let's start with Armani. At Giorgio Armani, the collection moved forward with composure. Not dramatically, not desperately, but carefully. And that word matters. Carefully. Because when a founder of that magnitude disappears from the room, the worst thing a house can do is panic. But Armani didn't panic. No, they didn't. They protected the language. The silhouettes remained fluid. The tailoring remained restrained. The elegance remained unmistakably Armani. But there is now a new reality surrounding the house. Legacy is no longer theatrical, it's inherited. And Milan, as a city, understands inheritance better than almost anyone. Now, let's go to Prada. At Prada, Miuccia Prada and Ralph Simons delivered something Milan desperately values in moments of transition: clarity. The coats were structured. The layering was controlled. Nothing felt decorative for the sake of decoration. Prada never tries to entertain fashion. Prada interrogates fashion. It asks uncomfortable questions about taste, about beauty, about what luxury should look like today. And in Milan, season shaped by transition and inheritance, Prada felt like intellectual ballast. Max Mara. Now, this was power without panic. It was under Ian Griffith. The message was simple, really simple: stability, camel outwear, strong shoulders, clean authority. Max Mara has never been about theatricality, never. It has always been about permanence, okay? This is really important because these are garments designed to outlive trends. And in a season where the industry is quietly asking who will inherit fashion's great houses, Max Mara reminded everyone that true luxury is often the quietest voice in the motherfucking room. Fendi. At Fendi, the direction under Maria Grazia Chiuri signaled something very deliberate, more like stabilization. The collection wasn't explosive, It wasn't chasing virality. Instead, it felt grounded, polished, carefully constructed. Fendi looked like a house making sure its footing remains secure before taking its next leap forward. Jill Sanders. Simone Bellotti delivered clarity, sharp tailoring, precise silhouettes, no visual clutter. In a season filled with symbolism and industry shifts, simplicity felt almost radical. Sometimes, the boldest statement a designer can make is what? Restraint. At each row, the collection titled Loop Forward brought something Milan rarely abandons: romance. But it was romance with discipline. Movement without collapse. Expression without confusion. The fabrics flowed, but the structure held. And when romance is balanced with control, Milan responds. Move on to Marni. Now, Meryl Rogue introduced a fresh current of energy, texture, instinct, creative tension. But importantly, that energy never tipped into chaos. Leadership changes can destabilize a house. Marni didn't feel destabilized at all. It felt, how can I say this? Awake. Now, Dolce & Gabbana. Here is something I found a bit weird. For me, it was like celebrity versus clothing, because at the Dolce Gabbana show, two narratives unfolded simultaneously. The clothes were strong, colorful, confident, much stronger than last season actually. But the casting told another story. If you follow me, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Multiple ethnicities, a visibly broader spectrum of models. For a house that has faced criticism in the past, that shift felt deliberate. How can I say this? A recalibration. And then, I know, Madonna arrived late. Maybe she needed time to put on her face. The show paused, the room shifted. The headlines recalibrated instantly. And here lies the tension. When celebrity timing interrupts runway timing, the garments must fight harder for attention. Now, to their credit, the clothes were fabulous, just fabulous collection. But the moment illustrated something larger happening across fashion months. Guest list trend faster than tailoring. I know I'm not being shady, I'm just saying something that I grew to realize lately. That's the thing, and I think it's becoming some kind of issue. Maybe not a big issue, but something that they need to check or maybe remember that not only the celebrities are buying the clothes. Like, something else become impossible to ignore in Milan this season. The celebrity present is no longer simply part of the show. In many cases, it is the show, literally. For decades, celebrities attended fashion shows to amplify the moment we understand that. They arrive, they sat front row, the photographers took their pictures, and then the runway began. That was back then when they have clock on the fucking wrist. The clothes remain the event. But increasingly across fashion months, everywhere actually, that balance is shifting. Really shifting. Arrivals are now choreographed like a red carpet. Guests walk in one by one. Photographers pose the room. Phone rise. And sometimes the runway waits 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour. Now mind you, usually a runway is literally between 15 and 40 minutes. In Milan this season, we saw it clearly. When a celebrity arrives late, the entire rhythm of the show changes. Although they try to act like nothing happened, the audience turns toward the entrance instead of the fucking runway. The energy shifts, and suddenly the garment must compete with the guest list. Now, I know I'm being shady or some sort, but this is not a criticism of celebrity culture, never. Fashion and celebrity have always been intertwined. But there is a difference between supporting the show and becoming the show. And Milan, perhaps more than any other fashion capital, has always believed that the clothes must remain the main character. And that tension between spectacle and substance was also visible at the Gucci show. Now, this is legacy versus future. Demna entered Milan carrying one of fashion's most intimidating archives. You know what? Usually I will have cut this little blooper, but I'm keeping it there, okay? I'm human. The silhouette leans sensual, slinky line, echoes of the Tom Ford era. A confident return to Gucci's late 90s codes. And then Kate Moss closed the show. Visually, it was powerful, culturally loaded. But the moment also raises a question. When legacy becomes the loudest voice in the room, and I'm not being shady again, who is defining the next chapter? Literally, I want to know. Gucci possesses enormous cultural gravity, but Milan rewards direction. I hope they understand what I'm trying to say. It's not a critique. It's just an opinion. At the Bottega Veneta and the Louis Trotter, construction spoke clearly. Leather discipline. Sharp lines. No unnecessary distractions. No, it was beautiful. In a season shaped by legacy shifts across fashion, Bottega felt secure, and security in luxury is power. Now, one of my coup de cœur, Ferrari. The collection titled Skins, I Am In, delivered something surprisingly, yes, I said surprisingly, assured. Structure, sensuality, confidence without a bang. For a house still defining its fashion identity, the message landed well. I loved it. Teaser, calculated rebellion. Now, Glenn Martens brought youth energy into Milan's more institutional rhythm. Provocative, playful, but most importantly, control. This wasn't rebellion for, let's say, chaos. It was more rebellion with calculation. Now, this Milan felt aware of fragility, aware that founders age, that legacies transfer, that archives become responsibilities. Yes, they do become responsibilities. At the same time, celebrity optics continue to grow louder across fashion months. Guest lists trend faster than tailoring. Arrivals generate more headlines than ateliers. Milan this week seemed determined to rebalance that equation. Did they do it? I don't know. Here is my final observation before I close this episode, my love. Fashion shows were never meant to be red carpet, never. They were meant to be laboratories, places where ideas work before they are worn. Yes, but it's not the same now. Somewhere along the way, the entrants began competing with the runway. Why? I don't know. Arrival times became headlines. Guest list became content. And sometimes the clothes became secondary. It's more like a celebrity show than a presentation. Milan this season seemed aware of that tension, or at least I hope they acknowledge it, because Milan understands something very simple about luxury in general. Spectacle may generate noise, but discipline builds legacy. I say again, spectacle may generate noise, but discipline always builds a legacy. Now, it was me, my love. This was season 2, episode 6. London experimented, Milan calculated. But this season, my love, Milan also adjusted to inheritance, adjusted to transition, adjusted to the reality that legacy is no longer guaranteed. It must be carried always. It's more like carrying legacy might require discipline. And discipline, my loves, is Milan's native language. This was me, my love, sending you a lot of love, and see you next week for another episode of Front Row with Audrey Charlyes. See ya!
You wanna guess the color of my underwear? You wanna know